This is one of my favorite stories. I tend to get choked up during this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cute one.
It's a cute one.
This story takes us way, way back to 1988. It was the year of the dragon.
Was it?
No.
And it definitely wasn't 88. So today we are going to be talking about John's first speaking engagement. You know, when we decided to start Intelligent Concrete.
Well, wait a second.
Oh.
Is it the speaking engagement or is it
Yes, that's,
the beginning of our company and the speaking?
I guess. Yeah, well, I was getting to that. So you know, we just moved out to New Jersey.
Just moved out to New Jersey.
And John was getting ready to start his PhD and had all this wonderful funding.
It was the beginning of January 2009.
So right during that awesome recession, 2010. We got married in 2009. January 2010. Anyways, it was right during that horrible recession.
So we were moving out with Mom and Dad, and I had a job lined up.
Tons of funding for his
PhD. Great company that we were going to work with. It was
Right.
going to be fun.
Right.
It was like a week before school started.
We had moved everything.
Everything.
Left our jobs.
Sold a lot.
Actually gave everything away.
Yeah. Oh.
And
No, we sold some stuff.
yeah, a little bit. Mostly we just gave. Anyways,
Start a new
chapter.
Start a new chapter.
So we get out there.
Every year is a chapter in your book.
Oh my gosh, that was so bad. We get out there and we found out that John's funding had been pulled due to the
Recession.
terrible,
Spoke to the
economic
guy
state.
who was the president of the company. Really great
Yeah.
great guy. And he's like, John, I'm sorry, I don't have money to pay my employees.
Yeah, they were laying people off.
Much less pay for your research. It was a week.
Yeah.
And this was going to pay for everything. Living expenses,
Yep.
insurance.
Right, I know. It would have been quite the quite a different experience of what we have, which is not a bad thing.
We would have been less hungry. I'm actually happy about
Yeah,
it.
I kind of am too. So we, decided that we were going to
Couldn't find jobs.
because of the recession.
It's not that we couldn't find jobs. We had jobs, but they got shut down because the companies just overnight shut
Right.
down. So it's not that we couldn't find work. The work was there,
Right,
and then it wasn't.
right.
And we ended up finding work.
Yeah.
I mean, odd jobs.
Right. I was nannying, you were.
I worked at one point as a organizer
Right.
for the director and actor Kevin Smith
Right,
in his stockroom,
right.
and that I made $20 an hour.
I know. It would have been nice if you'd been able to work there a little more
A lot.
frequently. It
I
was
ended up
just-
getting me a shirt and a comic book from the store.
Anyways, so cool. But
we did a lot.
did a lot of just kind of random things.
But that's the problem. It was random. And one night, I remember I had a long conversation with Dad about the responsibilities of my husband and da-da-da-da-da, which, I say it like that and I'm trying to diminish it, but it hit me square in the
Right.
chest. And that night, I was going to Target
Right.
to go sit at one of those kiosks and fill out an application
Right.
to stock shelves.
Right.
And I'm walking out the door, and Whitney says,
I was like, what are you doing?
I said, go get a job.
I was like, no. It's not what we're gonna do. I was like, you're amazing and you're an amazing speaker, so why don't we have you start going places and people will pay you to talk? And he was like, nobody's gonna pay me to talk.
I said, no, I didn't say that. I said, who is going to pay me to talk about concrete? And you said,
I said, we'll figure it out. Somebody will.
People credit me with starting this company. No, I mean, if it
know.
wasn't for you, I would have been a very good Target manager. There's nothing wrong with that, but
You were meant for a lot more than that. So
So,
A few weeks later.
nothing wrong with target managers.
Not
You do
at
a
all.
great
Not
job.
at all.
Thank you.
That just wasn't. That wasn't what
I
you
know,
were
but
meant
just
to
in
do.
case.
Right. So a few weeks later, John gets
An email.
an email from. Who was it?
Don't say.
Anyways, one of those associations.
One of those, and a huge
association.
Huge
And
association.
they were like, "Hey, we want you to come out and talk in Phoenix." He was like, "Yes, awesome! This is happening."
So we started a company.
So we started a company, and I was like, "This is amazing! How much are they paying us?" I'm thinking like $10,000 or something. He was like, "No, it doesn't quite work that way." I was like, "What do you mean it doesn't work that way?" He was like, "Well, we have to get me out there. We have to pay for my airfare. We have to pay registration, and I'm gonna go talk to these people for free." And I was like, "What?"
How much was registration?
It was like $500.
$499.
It was a lot. And then flights to
We
Phoenix from Jersey.
We didn't have
We did not.
$499.
Luckily, one of your
Luckily.
old professors let you stay with him. And they cooked gluten-free meals for you. They were so sweet.
And they drove me
And
to
they
the
drove
event.
you around.
And they picked me up from the
They
event.
were so great. So some angels we had there helping to take care of things.
And then I was a student. So because I was a student, I got the student registration rate,
right.
which was $99.
Oh, did you? That's great. Okay.
You didn't know?
No, I did not remember
You're
that.
the one. I thought that maybe that's not the case. I thought you paid for. You did all the work.
Oh, like maybe not.
What we learned that very first trip was that you gotta have at least $2,000 plus or minus $500
Right.
to get to your end destination. Something always happens.
Totally.
So I get to this presentation, and it was on my technology.
Right.
It was on not my technology, but my
colloidal
research.
silica.
Colloidal silicon concrete, and this was like at the apex, like right when I was getting all the information, and I was just saturated with data or from my literature review. We were also in the middle of doing work with the Army Corps. I had just come back from NIST. You know, done some ultra small angle neutron scattering stuff. It was just like a beautiful time for awesome data, and I put all this information, like there were slides upon slides, and I wanted to teach the world everything about the nano realm, and oh my gosh, I practiced.
You practiced the heck out of that. So he goes out there, he gives the talk, he gives me a call after, and I'm like, "Babe, how did it go?" He was like, "Not well." He got pretty upset.
Baby, it was the worst presentation I ever gave.
Which, even if it was the worst, he still gives great talks, even when he is not on his game.
There was a bunch of questions afterwards, standing room only.
And that's great.
That was great. I mean, that was, and then like some of my favorite speakers were sitting, Mike Thomas, Maria Younger. It's just like people I looked up to, and I did a great job giving the presentation. I really practiced it.
Right.
The Q&A, for all those first-time speakers out there, practice your Q&A.
Yeah, that always, the Q&A always makes me nervous when I give talks. I think that's one of the things that I'm always worried about.
You know, I was so nervous. So I got one really good question. You know, what does the colloidal silica do to the heat of hydration, blah, 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 thermokinetics.
Textbook answer.
Textbook answer. Okay, thank you. And then somebody asked me, so, and you,
Go ahead. Said, so this nanotechnology, is it like the nanorobots on G.I. Joe?
and I said, what? And he said, yeah. You know that G.I. Joe movie with the nanorobots where they shoot them in and then it controls your brain? Is that the same type of nanotechnology that you're talking about? You know, I had such an opportunity to teach it was a learning moment that people will look back on and.
You were at the beginning of your speaking career, though. I think you need to cut yourself a little slack at this point, 10 years later.
The answer to my question was yes. These are the nanorobots that, if injected, will control your brain.
And then you corrected and you said no.
I said, I'm just kidding! The audience didn't think it was funny.
Oh, they didn't laugh?
Nobody laughed.
Well, hey, engineers, they're...
I
them
said,
chuckle, some don't.
I said, no, of course it's not a nanorobot. It's colloidal silica. It's nanosilica particles floating in a beautiful dispersion. But I got, the reason why I got upset, in all honesty, I do feel like there was a learning, there was a teaching moment there. There was somebody who really didn't understand nanotechnology.
And you could have been very gracious and answered that.
Was communicating to me. Was communicating to me like, hey man, I really don't understand it. This is what I'm relating it to. And instead of being gracious or whatever word, or a true teacher, when the student is present, the teacher will appear. And I believe in that. I really believe in that saying, and I believe that my moment came. That was my true teaching moment where I could have created a relationship with the industry, and not that we haven't, but there was standing room only. Some of my greatest like crushes in the industry were sitting there. I mean, Mike Thomas, Jason Weiss, like holy crap, Maria Younger, Tim Curtis, like holy shit. And what did I do?
Do you know what though?
That's why I was upset.
That being said, you are known to be disruptive, so I understand that you wish you would have handled that a little differently. But
yeah,
I feel like on some level you were true to form. I feel like now you dial things back and you recognize these teaching moments a little bit, but
opportunity.
Right, but it seems like you still capitalized on that. You still took advantage. That being said, he's talking to me on the phone and telling me what happened and is so flustered.
I want to be honest, I was crying on the phone.
Okay, well, I was trying to...
You're so gracious. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then someone walks up to him, some lady, and he was like,
I gotta go.
I'm going to have to call you back. And that person ended up being our first client. So clearly it did not go that bad. And that was how we originally got into research and development. And that wasn't even something that we had planned on. We were just like, oh my gosh, we're going to make millions from John going around to talk all around the world.
About concrete.
And I mean, he does get, paid to speak now.
Very well.
But, that's... research and development has really kind of become our bread and butter, and that was where it all started.
So where we thought was our greatest failure was actually our first success.
Right.
I still regret not answering that person's question in a more respectful manner. But we did get our first major client from that presentation. And we more than paid for
absolutely
my trip out there. So
I would say within the first month, I think we got that.
Oh my gosh! And then the equipment that we got from those projects,
I know, it was great.
I mean, the reason why we have
all of this
is because of that.
So it didn't go that badly.
So story time.
Story time.
Thanks for hanging out. Don't forget to like.
Subscribe.
Leave your comments.
And questions.
Go concrete.
Beat asphalt.